All right there, folks. Thank you for your patience today in waiting on us for this low vision support webinar that we've been trying to do. This is something that we've been, really looking forward to, but unfortunately I had a big issue with my mic today. And so that held us back. We weren't able to get into everything we wanted to talk about. So for those of you who tuned in at 3 o'clock, I sincerely apologize. It took me over an hour to get that mic figured out. So funny story for down the road, but unfortunately, just because your vision's okay doesn't mean that computers are going to be your friend that day. We had to get in touch with Microsoft, have them reboot the whole system for us. So now that we're done, we're back online, let's talk about our July 2021 informational webinar. This is about computer accessibility programs. I'm Dr. Carlos Grandella. I meet with you once a month to talk about different topics that are useful for people with low vision. We talked about computer accessibility back in December, but this time we wanted to come back and talk about some of the additional programs that are out there. Things like screen magnifiers and screen readers. There's been a dozen or so different applications that have come out over the years to try to make computers open and free and able to those who have a vision impairment and struggle to see the fine print, see the mouse cursor, hard to be aware of everything going on at the computer at one time. So these can be really useful tools to a lot of people. Okay, so computer accessibility programs really fall in two categories. They can be screen readers, which means that whatever you hover over or select, it's going to read out loud to you. That's a really useful feature when you're typing a letter, for example, and you want to have it go back and read out loud what you typed, make sure there's no typos. Or if you're hovering over different icons, you want to tell you which icons you're using. It can echo back to you as you type to tell you the exact letters you put in. In fact, it can read so much out loud to you that there are patients who are completely blind or nearly totally blind who use a computer just fine. They do everything auditorily. There's even Braille systems that can connect with this. So amazing tool. The other category, screen magnifiers. That's a great opportunity. Okay, still seeing. Okay, we've got our viewer on, so that means that we should be able to see everything. Okay. Screen magnifiers are the tool that we use to magnify the screen, make everything bigger, and on the fly jump in and out as much as we need to visualize the things that we're looking for. These come in several different varieties, whether it's a free form that you're using, a single-time payment, or a subscription model. So each of these programs comes in different flavors. You got to choose the one that's right for you. So it's a great opportunity each way that you go with it. Screen readers, the ones that I found most widely reviewed, most thought of, the ones I hear most often, JAWS and Fusion, way up there on the list. JAWS and Fusion are the same thing. This is made by Freedom Scientific. Fusion is just the combo of JAWS and the screen magnifier zoom text. So great application for screen reading. Fusion's going to have combo of both. This can both be a single-time payment if you get a perpetual license, or a subscription model where you pay monthly or yearly with it. If you're going to choose between one of those, I'd recommend getting the subscription model, not so that you pay them more in the long run, but because they'll actually keep you updated. If you get the perpetual license, that's a one-time buy. You get the product you buy that day, and if they update it tomorrow, you're out of luck. All right, looks like we're hearing and seeing everything. Thanks to my wife for being my tech support on that. So Nvda, non-visual desktop access, is a similar program to JAWS was made with the purpose of being a free program. I found it very useful. It does a lot of the same things that JAWS can do. So great program to look into, totally free. Dolphin Supernova, similar to Fusion, is combo magnifier and screen reader. I believe it's also a one-time payment. I think they ask for a donation, is what it does. Windows Narrator is the Windows built-in reader, and Mac Voiceover is the Mac built-in screen reader. So all great products. They do a lot of the same thing, one into the other. Screen magnifiers, again, we talked about Fusion. Zoom Text, that's made by Freedom Scientific. Same thing we said about single payment or subscription model applies here. Magic 15 is the older version of that. So that's what they did before they comboed everything together into Fusion, was they had one called Magic. I believe that's a one-time payment. It's much more affordable than Fusion, from my understanding, but it is much older as well. Pretty similar in appearance and capacity to Dolphin from my testing. So Dolphin, again, doing a lot of the same stuff as Fusion. We also have the Windows magnifier and the Mac zoom feature. Both of those come built in with the software. So got a couple different options to choose from. Not all of them you have to pay for. How do you know what's the best one to do? I think that's really the question I came into this saying is what am I going to recommend to patients at the end of the day? You know, we want something that's easy, something that's economic, something that can apply to a variety of different things. After reading through blogs, watching reviews, and doing my own deep dive, I found that really pretty much everything you want to do can be done through Windows or through Mac accessibility. This is something you've already paid for when you've purchased your computer or updated your software. So why not just go ahead and dive into that? Why take the time to learn a whole new system? I guess if it's your first time, it's the only system you'll learn, but why learn an additional system that you have to download if it's already built in and available to you? The people who would fall in the middle is if you're not using Windows or Mac. If you've got Linux or some other program, that's where you might really say, you know what, Fusion's the way to go, or Nvda or one of these other programs. Honestly, I'm pleasantly surprised, but also disappointed that all of these other programs don't have that much extra to offer beyond what's built in, but pleasantly surprised that the basic technology has come so far forward. I mean, before Windows 10, before Mac's, recent updates and accessibility, Zoom Text and JAWS were the way to go for many years. And, before that, Magic. And so people have been working on this, and the more people who find out about it, the more minds come in and say, hey, why don't we add this extra feature? I mean, Windows 11 is coming out, so I'm excited to see if they make any updates for accessibility in that. But really, I think, I'm going to show some of these other programs. I'm going to focus a lot on Windows 10 and Mac because I think that's where the majority of my patients are going to be, the majority of people who are new to computer accessibility. I think you're going to find the services you need right in the device that you already have without having to go and buy anything extra, search for extra tools. So Windows 10 accessibility, what are we talking about? We're talking about changes in text size. So if you want a large font or a bold font or a blocky font, change that however you want to. And just scale the size of everything on your computer. You can change the contrast colors. So if you're really good with yellow letters on a black background, you change those however you like. Change your mouse cursor. Magnify your screen, and this is done in 3 different formats. You can have a full screen view, an adjustable lens that floats wherever your mouse cursor goes, and a docked view that stays stationary, but the view itself follows where your mouse is on the screen. A narrator, which is the screen reader. Dictation, which is a speech to text, so where you're typing in a document, and instead of typing, you just start speaking, and the program types for you. Speech recognition, which is when you're giving verbal commands to the computer, like open this file or double click on this icon. and Cortana, who is a virtual assistant. She can't do everything. In fact, I honestly, I don't think she does as much as the speech recognition from what I tried, but she's very useful in web browsing and that kind of thing. Can use a little more AI to provide some results and stuff like that. On the Mac side of things, very similar processes, just different names. So you change your text how you like, change your contrast colors, change your mouse cursor, magnify, and again a full screen version, a split screen, or what we would call the docked view, where one part of the screen is stationary and magnified and follows where you're heading around with the mouse, and a picture-in-picture or floating lens view. Dictation again. Voiceover, which takes the place of what we call the Windows Narrator. So this is where text on the screen is going to get read out loud to you. And voice control, which is when speech recognition, when you're giving commands to the computer. Say computer open up X, Y, and Z. And then Siri is the voice assistant who goes on Mac accessibility. So you guys probably know Siri from iPhones. The key to success with either of these programs is learning the key combinations, learning the right catchphrases with speech recognition, learning the strokes that you need to hit in order to have the functions done the way that you want them. When you don't know these, it's really difficult to engage and disengage the programs. You have to go into settings or into accessibility, click each of these options on or off. Much easier to just hit a couple keys and log it in, log it out. So Mac accessibility keyboard shortcuts. These aren't all of the shortcuts, but these are the major ones I think you should know about, ones you're most likely to use. All of these can be found if you head to Settings on your dock. Oops, we jumped too far forward. Mac accessibility, that's what we want to talk about first. On the floating dock on a Mac, you're going to go to Settings and go to Accessibility. So to show those accessibility options, you could also click Option Command F5. To turn VoiceOver on, you can hit Command F5. To turn on the zoom, it's Option Command 8. And to zoom in or out, it's Option Command plus or minus. Plus to go in, minus to go out. So those are pretty simple, but also very useful ones to do. Inverting colors would be Control Option Command 8. It's a little bit different than turning on the zoom. You've added an extra button there, so you've got 4 altogether. Control Option Command 8. Increasing contrast or decreasing contrast is Control Option Command period or comma. Period to go in bigger, comma to go in less, or to come back out. You can ask Siri to help you do these things, or using the VoiceOver voice control option. So once VoiceOver is on, you can say increase contrast, invert colors, turn on zoom, zoom in, zoom out. So I would urge you, take a picture of this slide, jot these things down. These are useful keystrokes to remember. So that's what we would do on our Mac. Unfortunately, I don't have a Mac to show you guys today, but I am going to dive into these Windows 10 shortcuts. These are going to function very similar to what you're going to do on a Mac, so what I'm showing you today is very applicable to what you can do on a Mac, but it's the key shortcuts are going to be a little bit different. The way it appears is going to look a little bit different. In Windows 10, you'll still go to Settings, but instead of Accessibility, you're going to look for Ease of Access. So you'll go in there to turn on your magnifier, and to do that with a keystroke, you would hit the Windows key, which looks like a little window, 4 little squares mashed together, right down between Control and Alt. So you'd hit Windows and plus to engage your magnifier and to zoom it in. To zoom it out would be Windows and minus. To exit would be Windows Escape. To change the kind of magnifier, because you have 3 different kinds, would be Control Alt M. So you have to have that magnifier engaged before you do that. To change the contrast mode is Alt and Left Shift and Print Screen. So you may not use Print Screen all that much, so it's usually up towards the top, maybe top right hand side. And then not just any shift key, but the left shift key. So Alt, Left Shift, Print Screen. If you have a smaller laptop like I do, where you have a function key and you have multiple things on each key, you might have to hit Alt, Left, Shift, Function, print screen, like I do. To turn on the Windows Narrator is Control Windows Enter. To turn on speech recognition is Windows Control S. To turn on dictation is Windows H. And you can ask Cortana to turn on some of these things for you as well. So that's really the shortcuts we want to focus on today. Again, you can go back in this webinar to pause that and jot those down, take a picture, that kind of thing. Here we're on my desktop. We're going to take a look at some of these different combinations and keystrokes. If we jump into the settings real quick, I'm going to go all the way back to, so if I clicked on settings, this is the page that pulls up in Windows. Mac, it's going to look a little bit different. But in either one of those, you're going to go to ease of access or accessibility on a Mac. And when you open that up, we have a whole plethora of different things we can run through. Now, if you want to talk about text size and some of these other things, I've shown that in our last webinar in December. So that's in display and mouse pointer. I am going to give us a little bit bigger mouse pointer to help people follow along with me today. But let's jump into the magnifier. Now, if you forget any key combinations, things like that, they'll actually show you these key combinations in the accessibility tools, in ease of access, on both Mac and Windows. So if you forget what any of them are, go back to settings, go to accessibility or ease of access. They're going to have it all written in there. So let's jump out of this for a second. We're back on my main screen. I've got a larger mouse to help us find where I'm going. I'm going to hit the Windows key and plus to engage my Windows magnifier. Now it started out at 100%, so I didn't zoom in yet. I'm going to hit it again to zoom closer and hit it again to zoom even more. So I'm getting a big magnified view of this. I'm hoping that's going to pull in exactly how we want it on the webinar to show you guys that well. Zoom back out by hitting minus. And when I zoom in and out, I can follow my mouse along. The whole screen is moving wherever I dial this mouse. And so if I come down here towards my clock, I'm able to see that clock at a much higher level. Now I'm going to check on Facebook and make sure that this is showing it to you the same way that I want you to see it. So let's come down here to our live session going on. Okay. All right. So I've zoomed in quite a bit, and we're down here towards the mouse, and it is not showing it to you the way that I have it zoomed in, even though I'm zoomed in to 500%. Ooh, what a pain here. Okay, let's zoom that back out and see if I can get this to show it to us just the way that we want it to. Show transition. Because it really doesn't help you a lot if you're not able to see it. See if we can try a Windows capture here. Ooh, there we go. Okay, so we're going to switch this to the magnifier. Ooh, and that's not going to help us. That's not what we want. Because that's just showing you my little magnifier bar without showing you the whole screen that it's giving us. So let's see if we can. Okay. Let's try one more time to get this right and see if we can show this to you the way that we want it to. I think I'm just going to have to monkey here with the... This is showing us the whole display. Not quite getting us the image that we want to see on that. So I apologize, folks, that this doesn't display it the same way that we would want to show you. It's not giving us the view as I zoom in and zoom out of what I would want you guys to see. But I will have you try this out on your own computer if you're following along with me. Windows plus and Windows minus is going to zoom you in and zoom you out. As you've zoomed in, we're going to hit Control, Alt, and M to switch between different kinds of magnification. So let's see if we can get this one to pull up for us. I'm going to follow along here with Facebook and see if this is going to show it to you the way I want it to. And it is not. What a pain. So as I hit Control Alt M, I'm getting a projected lens view, a much smaller lens. Ooh, it does show it. But you're not able to see what I'm seeing inside of there. I was just following a little bit faster along with it. So the size of the image I'm getting through there depends on how many times I hit Windows minus and Windows plus to make it bigger or smaller. But you can see that I have this floating black image on the screen. It's not black for me. I'm getting a magnified view. If I hit Control Alt M again, that's going to switch me to my docked view, so that wherever I drag my mouse cursor, that's going to show the docked image magnified up towards the top of the screen. I'm going to wait here and make sure Facebook's able to catch up with that as well. So again, it's showing a darker black image up towards the top, not showing really what I want you guys to see up there, which is that larger image. And as I hit Windows and plus, that's going to zoom in more and more. Windows and minus is going to zoom it back out. And so if I hit Windows Escape, that's going to get rid of my dock altogether, and I've put the magnifier away. Now what should definitely work for us today is our narrator. And that's another big part of what I wanted to show you. So unfortunate that our magnifier isn't working, but let's jump right into our narrator. Narrator, again, we can come into the settings and turn this on or off. I can also hit Control, Windows, and Enter to turn the narrator on.
Narrator dialog. OK. Button. Volume. Heads up. Narrator keyboard changes.
So the narrator is going to read everything out loud to us. We've got a little white text box in the middle, and that's where he's describing things out loud to us. It's got a blue highlight around it wherever he's going to be speaking. So if I click or point my mouse somewhere lower, he's going to read along with that.
We've updated the narrator keyboard layout so it more closely matches. Settings window. Use narrator. Settings window. Taskbar. Narrator dial. We've updated the narrator keyboard layout so it more closely matches. Heads up. Narrator keyboard changes.
I don't want to talk while he's talking. That's going to make it too difficult to hear. But you can hear as I pass that mouse all around everywhere, he's reading out loud everything that I hover over. That's a setting that I've turned on because that's very useful for someone who's not able to see well enough to click on something to know it's even there to be clicked. So for many patients, having it read everything the mouse goes over is a really useful way to orient yourself. We can also do things like use the up and down keys to go around the screen and have it read what we're selecting with the keys like that.
Turn off narrator button, Alt plus T.
So when I hit the down key, that jumped me down to the turn off narrator button.
OK button, Alt plus O.
I can hit over to hit OK. I'm going to go to enter.
Narrator heading level 1. Welcome to Narrator. This is Narrator Home.
Now this is the Narrator Home screen. This is going to stay open. I can minimize it, but this will read through. We've got a guide that we could go through. Typically they want you to go through a whole tutorial on how to use this before you get into it. Now I've stopped the narrator, which you can stop at any time by hitting the control key, and that will stop him. Again, I can use my arrow keys on my keyboard to move this around. So if I hit right,
H-I-S space I.
I'm walking through the dialogue there. If I hit up,
Heading level 1. Main landmark.
I can
Heading level. This is Narrator Home, where you can get help, access.
As I go onto a new button or a new piece of dialogue, it will start to read through that form.
Quick start button. U-I. Learn the narrator. View the what's new. Get no settings. Custom feedback button. Help him.
So I can jump all around the screen without actually having to use my mouse. But if I use my mouse, you're going to hear him start to read things out loud again.
Settings. Main landmark. Exit narrator button. Main landmark. Taskbar pane. Run narrator. Narrate. Settings. Taskbar pane.
So now we're out to the main menu. And if I hit tab.
Running
here,
applications. Paint button.
I've got a little blue cursor in the bottom left on my paint key. So we're on the taskbar and I'm able to walk through those. If I hit tab again, he's going to jump to a different part of the taskbar.
102 degree F sunny button. 103 degree F sunny button.
Yep, so he's told me this is my temperature button. I'll hit tab again.
Notification chevron button.
So I've got a button that we can go into that has different apps and icons there.
Show desktop button. Desktop list. OBS Studio 12 of 15 selected on.
So I've hit tab a couple more times to keep jumping through. Now I'm on my desktop icons all together. I could use my tab to jump back to the taskbar. I could use arrow keys to move between the icons.
Firefox 2 of 15. Recycle bin 1 of 15 selected
So my arrow
on.
keys.
Taskbar pane start button.
Hitting tab again took me off the desktop and back to my taskbar. I could hit enter to enter my taskbar.
Start window, search box, edit, type here to search.
So I could type in here. I could also hit my arrow
All
keys.
apps, Fusion, Zoom, JAWS, expand, number, 3D viewer, 1 of 1.
And I use those arrow keys to walk through the different things here. And he's reading each one out loud to me. Hopefully we're hearing that through Facebook as well.
Cap, Access, Acrobat, Adobe Reader Touch, 3 of 6. Taskbar, pane.
Exit out of that by hitting escape. So escape will jump you out of things.
Running applications, File Explorer, Advanced, TeamView, Google Chrome, 1 running window, button.
So I can use the tab to jump between different parts of the screen, and then arrow keys to move inside that part of the screen. So once I got onto my taskbar icons, I used my arrow keys to go back and forth to find Google Chrome. I'm going to hit enter.
Scan, header, toolbar, PowerPoint app launcher, menu item.
And so as we jumped onto Google Chrome and we've got my presentation open, we immediately started to scan the page and to move around with things on the page. Again, I can hit tab here.
Power center title placeholder, has text, Windows.
So that jumped me onto the slide itself and started reading some of the slide.
Object placeholder, has text.
Hitting tab again jumped me down to another part of the slide and allowed me to read some of that. Now I'm just going to check Facebook and see, is this following out loud for you guys? Immediately started to scan the page and to move around with things on the page. Again, I can hit tab here. Center title placeholder has text. Wonderful, that's super loud. So hopefully that's not deafening you guys when you listen to that. So let's jump
Center title place, object placeholder, has text, level 1, turn magnifier on / zoom in, level 2, Windows plus, level 1, zoom out.
Okay, so it continued to read on my PowerPoint slide there as I started hitting tab to jump actually back up towards the top of the screen.
High text box, turn object, high text box, has text, level 1, high contrast mode, level 2, alt left shift print screen, level 1, turn on narrator, window, center title placeholder, has text, turn object placeholder, has text, level, send, object, text, center title placeholder.
And so that's one of the difficulties we can find. Well, what do you do if you find yourself stuck in a program? We can do things like the Windows button that pulls us out of a window. Using the mouse to drag along is going to help us to find different features that are out there. We click on one of those to navigate to a different part of the page. Since this is kind of a window within a window, I got myself stuck in there. There's a few key combinations I would want to look at how to navigate back out to other parts of the page. We can turn on page scanning and take off page scanning, which is a big part of that. I'm going to use my mouse for this part.
Home tab item, 1 of 11, selected. Flick down to change to suggestions view.
So just by moving my mouse, I jumped us out of that slide and up onto the home tab.
Oh. Object placeholder, has text, level 1. Group, ribbon, animations, no Google Chrome, new tab, button. So new tab has finished loading. No item in view. Pane, Carlo, Chrome, no next item, unavailable.
What I wanted to demonstrate there is I was tapping on the keys and trying to write into Google Chrome to look for pizza or something like that. Unfortunately, it's not letting me do that. I found that on Google Chrome, if we use this top search bar,
link, Gmail link,
it doesn't actually let us type into search. So this could be a really frustrating thing if you were trying to do. What I found that was available,
search Google or type a URL, combo.
If I scan over here, this Google search bar at the bottom, and type into that, by hitting space, you're letting the narrator know that you actually do want to type in there.
Scan off. P-I-Z-Z-A.
You can hear it echoing back to me the things that I'm typing in. So let's hit enter.
Scan. Accessibility links link. Skip to main content link. Accessibility help link. Doodle champion.
All right. And so you hear as we go into our pizza search here, it immediately starts reading out loud to us. I'm going to use tab to jump around the page a little bit.
Search. Clear. Search by voice. Google's menu item. Google link. Image. More. Menu. Tool. Ads. Link. Heading level 3. Add HT. Why this ad? Why this link? Pizza deals and specials.
So you hear he says link quite a bit. He's going to tell you that, if you hit enter on that, it's going to take you somewhere else and then tell you what that link is involved with.
Shop online pizza deals near you. The best pizza deals and specials.
So we could kind of continue to walk around this whole page. I'm doing all of that by keystrokes. So if I was someone who had no vision at all, I could continue to, work my way through this page without having any vision at all. I can also move my mouse along. So if I'm someone who can see the larger gist of things, I can move my mouse along. Perhaps my mouse is a color that's easier to see and have the screen reading things out loud.
At pizza, Google search tab item, blank. Table, link, fired pie rated 4.3 out of 5, 200, and table, link, Barrow's Pizza rated 4.1 out of 5, table, link, Rocky's Pizza, and cheesesteaks rated.
So just by moving my mouse along, of course, each time he's telling me this is a table link, so it's probably going to take us to open table, or it's, actually no, I think it's telling us that it is a table of links. And so each one he's reading afterwards, and he's giving us some of the details, like the reviews number for each one of them, and if we clicked on that, we'll dive into each website. So VoiceOver, really great tool, or Narrator, whether it's Mac or Windows, it's going to function in a very similar pattern. Now, if you're someone who doesn't want it to read everything out loud all the time, you can click that off. It allows you to have it read just when you're highlighting or just when you're clicking onto things.
Link ads, Google Chrome, search menu, taskbar, pane.
Let's take it to a different kind of program. What if we wanted to do something like talk to the computer and have it read out loud to us? So if I wanted to put on my speech recognition, I would do Control Windows S. Oh, and he's not listening to me.
S.
Oh.
Pane. Settings. Interaction. Keyboard. Speech. Dict. Only. Speech. 1 of 4 level 2. Selected. S. Space. S.
Oh, so my narrator is actually blocking
Vision.
me.
Use narrate. Exiting narrator.
Actually blocking me from having my speech turned on. And again, you'll find this sometimes the narrator doesn't allow you to type all the time. Sometimes you have to turn them off to continue typing. If you know the keystrokes for that, not very hard to do. Now I went into settings and turned that off. If I put them back on by Control Windows Enter.
Mouse mode on. Narrator. Narrator heading level 1. Welcome.
So I've got my narrator back on. I can turn him off by holding caps lock and escape.
Exiting narrator.
Just that quick. Okay, so if I found he was interrupting me and getting in the way of something, turn him on and off, just a couple keystrokes. If I want to put my speech on, now that he's not in the way, Control Windows and S. Now I found this one is not always turning on when I want it to. So that is a point against Windows speech recognition. So I'm going to manually turn it on and off in the settings here. And we get this little silver icon up towards the top. And it's got a little message that's saying, try saying start listening. And that is the prompt. So it heard me say that and it's starting to wake up again. Start listening. All right, now it's listening. Open Word. Open Word. So you can see here that it went ahead and opened for us, but it's not going to pick a document right away. It's just listening for our advice. So I'm going to say, double-click blank document. And so by knowing the right key combinations or right phrases I can do, I can have this click kind of anything I want on the page. I could say, click File. Ooh, and it's actually listening to me and trying to do our dictation. Stop listening. So I can actually turn that off just by saying stop listening. And that stops the dictation that it started on the page. So speech recognition will do a little bit of everything. I'm going to delete that off again. Start listening. Start listening. Click File. Double-click File. 1. Okay. All right, so what I tried to do there was have it click on the File button, and you may have seen it gave me a 1 and a 2. We have File on the top left hand of the screen, and we have Reuse Files on the bottom right hand of the, top right hand of the screen. So it gave me a 1 and 2 choice of which one I actually wanted it to use. Now, if I didn't have vision well enough to see that, that would have been really difficult for me to tell. Turn on narrator. Turn on narrator. I think actually being in a Word document is throwing us off. Close Word. Don't save. Cancel. Don't save. I'm able to manipulate each of those options just with the command. Close settings. Open narrator.
Mouse mode on. Narrator dialog. OK. Button.
Close narrator.
Alt plus O. Head. Narrator heading level 1. Welcome to narrator. This is narrator.
Close narrator.
Exiting narrator.
So you can see, even though I've had some practice with these different command codes and things like that, it's not a foolproof system. And by all means, I'm going to say that I think the Mac voiceover and voice control was much superior to what Windows was doing. From the time I've spent with patients and watching them open and close different things, I found that they had a much easier time with it. But just to see it, it's just that easy. If you start to learn these key commands, we can have it follow along with us. So if I say open Google Chrome, and it gives me that little bump because it's not hearing what I'm saying. Open Google Chrome. Open Google Chrome. Double click. Insert. Insert. Go. So this is where we're having a hard time. I have not learned all of the voice commands for this. So if I was somebody who was brand new and doing this on my own, I would have a pretty tough time getting through this. So what I'd recommend if you're struggling, here again it's trying to do the dictation for me. That's why it's not actually following the command. If I was somebody who was struggling with this, then I would search for Windows speech recognition. Ooh, and it's not even following me there. I'm going to turn that off for a moment, or I could turn it off by saying stop listening. Stop listening. Stop listening. Turn off. Stop listening. So here again, we're highlighting a key issue with some of the Windows stuff, is that the Google search bar really threw this off. It was trying to do all the dictation for me instead of listening to my commands. Same problem happened in the Word document. So one last time, if I was struggling with particular commands, I would look for Windows speech recognition commands. And as I'm typing it, it comes up pretty quick. If you look for that, the first link that comes up is Microsoft's main page on here. And just like the screenshot I put into the presentation, we have some pretty quick options we can follow along with. I'd recommend, printing this or saving these into a document for yourself. Be really easy to follow along with this. And it's not something you can learn all in one day or even in a week. We're going to think practice, practice, practice on this kind of stuff. Okay, so let's jump back out for a second. I'm going to say turn off, and I'm going to close out that little document. So I'm going to try, let's do just the dictation on its own without speech recognition. That's Windows H. We have a different little bar that pulled up at the top, and this is, you can see, very quick about following me and writing along into the Google search bar, but that's not what I want it to search for. So hitting backspace stopped that. I'm going to click on my little microphone again. Pizza. So dictation is not going to do everything for us, like speech recognition, where we could say double click or open a file. It's just typing. That's all it's doing. So I have to navigate myself to where I want it to write. I could click on the little microphone again, or I could again hit Windows H. Best pizza, Memphis, Tennessee. And I again have to hit my enter key, because it's not going to do everything for me. It's just typing along with it. So dictation is really useful if we want to do something like write an email or do a Facebook login or something like that. Ooh. So let's go to Facebook. Actually, let's skip on Facebook. Let's go to another Word document. Okay. I don't want to open emails, things like that. Some of the stuff I get is sensitive, so we don't want to go down that road. But let's go Windows H. And if I was typing a document, I might say, next paragraph. Ooh, next line. There we go. Next line. So you'll see as I'm typing, it recognizes some of these things as command. It should have recognized the next paragraph and didn't. Next line. That little trill that I heard told me that the dictation turned off. So I'm going to click on that again. Next line. Ooh, it's initializing, and it's not giving me any sound input to tell me that. Ooh, okay, so I'm going to hit Windows H to turn it off, Windows H to turn it back on. And it's thinking. Ooh, look at that. Really unfortunate that it doesn't tell you when it's thinking. So let's try. I'm going to turn that back off. I'm going to turn my Windows Narrator back on.
Mouse mode on. Narrate. We've updated the narrator. Narrate heading document page 1 so you'll see T.
So turning on my Windows Narrator again to see if I can get a little bit better feedback when things aren't going the way I want. So let's put on dictation again by Windows H.
H. Ribbon tabs pane Microsoft text input application window. Initializing.
Okay, so I could get some feedback by having on my narrator and browsing all the way up to the top. That's still not incredibly helpful.
Microsoft document 1 Word window page 1 content edit.
Because Microsoft Word, Microsoft Outlook, and many other tools have their own dictation tool. That's over in my top right-hand corner.
Voice, dictate, button, off, space. Page 1 content, edit.
Dear Shirley, comma, next line. This is an example email.
Grammar error erase.
That I am writing.
Misspelled I. Misspelled I.
Period.
Webinar. Space. Page 1.
So
page 1 content.
The dictation
edit.
For that, and you may be able to see.
This is an example. Font open. Big. Font size. Page 1 content. Edit. Webinar.
So you might be able to see that this actually did a pretty good job of following the words that I was saying, following commands that I was giving for commas and next lines, things like that. So the dictation is not too shabby, except when it turns off and doesn't want to initialize. The screen reader was pretty good about following along with what it was saying, but you might have heard it jumping in the middle and saying, oh, there's a grammar error, there's an issue coming on. It's going to populate and tell us stuff like that, which can be super helpful. So I'm going to try typing a couple more lines.
Cap I, D, would, E, like, U, O, space, 2, I, K, A, E, N, E, R, I, E, N, D, period, friend, space.
So one really cool thing you can hear it do is echo back letters as I write them. Tell me sometimes words as I finish. And if I go back and
would, cap I, would, like, you,
hover over, it's going to tell me those words again.
2, A, This is an example email that I
I go to the start of a line, it's going to read the whole line.
am writing for the sake of this webinar. I would like you to.
We could also scroll over the whole thing or highlight over the whole thing.
This is an example email that I am writing for the sake of this.
Oh, and it actually didn't follow all the way through.
Pick a friend.
Now with our arrow keys, we can move along as well. If we're not somebody who's using a mouse.
Webinar. Am writing for the sake of this. This is an example email that I.
So again, a lot of good feedback we can have with our narrator on. I honestly think this is one of our really superior tools. Speech recognition, I'm really going to give the hat off to Mac. I find that it does a much better job. But like I said at the beginning of the presentation, the key to having success is learning the command phrases. I'm not somebody who uses speech recognition very often, so we run into hiccups when we do things like that. Really want to emphasize jotting down on the side of where you're going to set the computer the pertinent keystrokes and voice commands that you're going to be doing, something that you can refer back to in large print, or if you're using Braille, to have Braille to follow along with that, and memorization. The more you do this, the easier it's going to come back to you. I'm going to put my narrator back off again with caps and escape.
Exiting narrator.
Okay. And close out here with my Word document. I'm not going to save. One of the last things I wanted to talk to you about was Cortana or Siri. So Siri is a great tool. We all know a lot about her from use of iPhones. Going to be very similar in what she can do on a laptop. Cortana, tries to measure up to that. Honestly, I think Siri is the pinnacle there. What I have found unhelpful in Microsoft Windows is that Cortana wants you to go through Bing, and she's not going to search on Google. There's a lot of things she's not going to do for you because she wants you to stay in that Microsoft wheelhouse. Now, if you're a Chrome user, then that rubs me wrong a little bit. She searches for pizza in ways that I don't want her to. That's a little silly, but so you can get to Cortana by hitting Control and C. Or I'm sorry, I think it's Windows and C. There we go. Cortana. Oh, she's not listening to me.
Speech means the expression of or the ability to express thoughts and feelings by articulate sounds.
So Cortana, I was able to open up, but she did not immediately start listening to me. A big minus on her side, a plus for Siri. Let's exit out and try that again. Windows and C. Hello, Cortana. And again, she's not listening to me right away. I could type in and ask her things. There's a small microphone in the bottom right of her corner, and that's where she could listen to me right away. Search for daylight light bulbs.
Sorry, I'm not able to help with this one yet.
Ooh. All right, we found something that Cortana cannot do. I think Siri and Alexa and some of our other AI assistants would be pretty good at that. Search for pet shop.
I found 5 pet stores near you.
So this
There's
is something...
PetSmart at 857 North Val Vista Drive, Suite 106 in Gilbert. It's 1.5 miles.
I'm going to close her out so she'll stop talking there. So you see that she will search for some things. Let's try her again. Now we do have a little Talk to Cortana button down here. But again, when we open her up, she's not immediately listening to me. So that's one thing that's really great about Mac is when you have the voiceover on and you're asking for Siri, she's there right away for you. Open Paint.
All right, I'll open Paint.
So this is one of the things you can have Cortana and Siri do for you. They will open different applications. If it's something that's embedded within something else, for example, if you're using a remote server to access work or something like that, very few of the applications we've talked about today will extend into remote surfers. You actually have to have that application on the other computer that you're connecting to. Some of the more it's application within an application kind of a thing, those won't be used here as well. So if I ask her to open a Word document and go to a particular folder, she's going to have a hard time doing that. What I could do is use my speech recognition to open a folder and say double click on this certain thing that I want you to do. Let's see if Cortana will do that for us. Open file folder.
Sorry, I can't help with that.
Ooh. Let's try again. Open Grandella.
Sorry, I can't help with that.
She's got no recognition for us there on that, unfortunately. Let's try again. Open Word.
All right, I'll open Word.
Double-click blank document.
I've got this for you on double-click blank document.
So here's where I really wanted to highlight the difference between Cortana and Siri and voice control and speech recognition. So in Windows, Cortana is going to search for some things, she's going to open some things, but speech recognition, that little gray box we had at the top, is really where we want to go to for master control of the computer all by voice. Now in a Mac system, those are much more blended together. So if we're asking Siri to do it, we're asking voice control to do it. It's really the same thing. So I exit out of Cortana to show the difference in that one more time. Control Windows S. That turns on my speech recognition and it starts in this sleeping mode. So I'm going to say start listening. Start listening. Open Word. Open Word. Open Word. Open Word. She's having a really tough time hearing me. Open Microsoft Word. Open Microsoft Word. And even here, she's not getting close to it. One of the things I don't like, again, is she's giving me different options, and this is all only available by vision. Not very helpful to do it all. Open Excel. Open Excel. Let's see. Double-click blank document. Double-click blank document. Double-click blank workbook. Blank workbook. So here again, we see some of the failings of speech recognition. So for those of you who really want to get into that, I would definitely advise extended training. Speech recognition is not always going to be there for you. I'm having some mic problems today, and I think that's setting off some bad feedback for it. It was constantly asking me what I was saying again and again. Here is again where I think Mac really pulls ahead of the team. So we've run through a lot of really good stuff today. Again, I apologize to those who weren't able to see the webinar right on time. Hopefully you can catch this recording a little bit later. As we come back to the presentation, I want to highlight again that we have these magnifier options. We have the narrator options and speech recognition. This is available both in Windows and in Mac. But for those who are using Linux and some of these other tools, that's where we would look at applications like Fusion. This being the major one that's used by vocational rehabilitation counselors. I'm going to dive into this one for a moment first. I'm going to follow along with Facebook and make sure that you guys are able to see what I'm seeing here.
Fusion Professional. Desktop. Desktop. OK button.